All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get rolling. Today, we are talking about interpreting data sources. So what does that mean? We're doing a very 100 level of how would you kind of build some of the data that is being aggregated through a couple of the Coldwell Banker apps that I will talk about, specifically MarketQuest and Prospect Square, and how you can build that into the approach you're taking with your clients, and just a basic understanding of how you want to read this stuff, and then what you can take out of this to go talk with if you wanted to get a little bit of a deeper well of knowledge on these items. I would recommend reaching out to your manager and kind of getting into deeper discussions about where you think some of these trends could lead. But what I'm going to do is kind of go over where you can find this stuff and some of the basics on how you want to start thinking about digesting it. You guys are all real estate professionals. You guys know the market very well. So we're just going to go over fundamentals of statistics here. With that being said, I will be recording this session. As you guys all probably saw, a little ribbon pop up on top. I will post this to my YouTube channel where I've been adding all of the classes that I've been teaching over the course of our shelter in place. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Let's get started with just some basic vocabulary on some stuff that we'll be talking about, and just some things that are handy to know in the grand scheme of these conversations, just to make sure that you've got ingrained in your head. The term you hear most often thrown around in a lot of these reports is the mean. Mean is basically an average. Average, obviously, is just taking all of the numbers in a series, adding them together, and then dividing them by the total set of numbers on that list. Your mean is your average. Median is another number that you'll hear, or another term that you'll hear throughout today's class. That is what it sounds like. A median is the middle. It is, if you were to take the homes you are grouping as part of a data set and lined them up by price, lowest to highest, the median would be whatever number is in the middle, or the average of the two numbers that are in the middle. And mode you'll use a little less often, but it comes up from time to time. Mode is essentially the frequency. So mode refers to the number that appears most often in a given sequence. So if you had 1, 3, 5, 5, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5 would be the mode. I think that's about all I wanted to cover there on that. What I'm going to do now is share my screen. I'm going to remind everybody to please keep your microphones muted to be courteous to everybody in the class. I take questions at the end of the session. If you've got stuff that pops into your head, feel free to put it into the chat, and I will address that chat window at the end of the session as well. I'm going to try and get you guys out of here in less than 40 minutes. Let's go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started on the nuts and bolts of what we're talking about today. So obviously I'm on CB Desk. CB Desk is where all of our company apps and tools live. Everybody's talked about Desk. Let's start with kind of MarketQuest is where I want to start with, because it's got a lot of the handy guide of how you can digest this information already built into the report. And B, it's a really big snapshot, right? MarketQuest is going to give us that 30,000 foot view, and then that's really it. It is Prospect Square and the market reports that really distill down further than that. So we're going to start here on MarketQuest.
Anuj, we lost video and audio, if you can hear me. Oddly, this happened in a prior meeting I was in earlier today as well. I'm hoping there's not a glitch in Microsoft Teams, if you can hear me.
Oh, sorry, everybody. I apologize for that. Am I back? I think I'm
You're
back.
you're back. Audio's back. Looks like
Okay.
video is back as well.
Thank you for hanging with me there. Thank you, Paul, for checking in. Um, Sorry, as I was just saying, it is 10 o'clock on a work day, and the internet's probably going to be a little laggy. Um, so hang tight as these apps delay on opening. Hopefully, I won't drop again. I've got a couple of networks in my unit that I can run from. Uh, so moving back, I'm just going to rewind a little bit here. I went into MarketQuest. I'm pretty sure that's where I got dropped. And as I was saying, you'll reach your landing page, which I'm just going to remove that so we can start from scratch. Your landing page here is going to give you basically what data sets you're pulling and allow you to see what information you can get out of this system. There are three types of reports. One of them comes in two different ways. The market share is what it sounds like. It will give you either, as you can see right here in the group by, which applies only to the market share readout. Just want to make sure. Okay, that's still cool. The market share readout you can get either by broker, office, or brand, and it will give you the market share for whatever area type you are looking at. I am looking at county right now, but you can also filter and you'll see these items change to MLS area. You can look at city. You can look at, there we go. There's MLS area. You can look at school districts. You can look at zip codes and break it down your data in whatever way you think is going to be most beneficial to the conversation you're having with your client. Now, what do I mean by that? The big takeaway I want everybody to always think about with this specific type of class and the data sets that we give away is that never give away the farm. Always anchor yourself with your clients as that knowledge base of information to whomever you're giving it to. And what does that mean, right? That means make sure that you front load and have reviewed these kind of things. Make sure you front load the important information to your clients ahead of the report, whether it's by saying it to them, if you're handing it to them in person, putting it ahead of the email before they open the report, or follow up with a phone call while they're going through it, and make sure that you already break down ahead what's important for them and remind them that if they indeed have any questions about how they need to digest this data, you are who they want to reach out to, and you are the source that can aggregate and gather this information for them. This way, it's you they always need to come back to, and you never just hand the data off so they can go to Discount Joe or Joanne and utilize another service. So let's look at market trends, and we'll give you a different breakdown. I'm going to go into that in just a sec. What we're going to start with is the market action reports, because this has an email-friendly version, and it's going to be most likely what you end up digging into. You can choose property types. This will default to single-family townhomes and condos. You can also include mobile, lot land, commercial, and multifamily. REO properties, you can have all REO or non, price range, date range. I'm just going to do the last 12 months for convenience, but you can also, for market trend only, look at a 25-week period, and you can also look at a period versus period variance report for market trends. But otherwise, you can go month to date, year to date, or last 12 months, or within a calendar date range that you choose. I'm going to look at a county view of Monterey County. And let's go ahead and grab that right here. Anything you want to add to the list, you just hit that little arrow and it's going to move it to whatever is on the report. If I wanted to also add Santa Cruz County, I realized I didn't introduce myself to start this class. It's the first time I've done this in the morning in a while. My name is Anuj, for those that don't know, and I am the field marketing specialist in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. So if I wanted to look at the data for both of my counties, I could go in and add both of them like this. If I just wanted to look at Monterey County, like I am going to do in this example, I am going to go ahead and remove that, now we can see Monterey is the only one on the list. And all you need to do to generate this report is now click Market Action, and boom, our report is created. What you're going to see here is you've got your trend overview and then a series of infographics underneath that are very consumer friendly because they're pretty. And as I said, the cool thing about this report is you'll see that there's already a kind of digested verbiage built in to help you work through the data set already. To start with, before we dive into all of that, you've got a header up here, which will allow you to export this to a PDF, take you back to the search. You can also, what is by default checked on, is to include the data table in the printout. I'll download the PDF and show you what that data table looks like in just a minute, so we'll put a pin in that. You can also choose to hide the square foot areas if you wanted. You can also separate inventory, new listings, and sales graph in the PDF form. I am going to check that on so you can see that when I get that PDF. The default is to show these trends in arrows. I am a fan of values, so I'm going to switch it over so you can actually see the percentage. And then everything is nice and broken down already for you here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The header, it says modify header. There isn't a whole lot you can do with this right now. I know there are some updates happening in VNew, but for the time being, if the picture is incorrect, open up a heat ticket or reach out to your SSA or field marketing specialist and they can update that photo for you. Otherwise, just make sure your name is correct, your title, license number, phone number, etc. is all what it needs to be. Save will allow you to save it as you'd expect. And then I had selected, obviously, the property types were the default. Price range was by default, and we're just looking here at Monterey County. So as you can see, the median price of all current listings is just a hair under 1.1. And median, again, is the middle. So that means if we're taking the prices of all the homes currently on the market in Monterey, or that have been on the market in the last 3 months, I should say, because this is a trend overview, it's going to list them from lowest to highest and then look at what is in the middle or the average of the numbers in the middle. And that's what we got to and what we see here. And there is a handy dandy little table underneath here to let you know what these values all stand for. LM is last month, L3M is last 3 months, PYM is same month prior year, LY is last year, YTD is obviously year to date, and then you have prior year to date and prior year. Depending on what values can be generated in the system is what you will see available for any given period. You've also got the average list price of current listings available. And again, you can see the trends and changes. You've got a total properties currently for sale, inventory, properties sold, average. All of these are in a nice broken down graph for you and available to use.
Hey, Nush, real quick question.
Yes.
What are the limitations to this in terms of geography? Is this tied to all the MLSs in the nation, in California, in just our area?
MLSs you are associated with.
Okay. Okay, only the MLS you are associated with.
Correct.
Is there any way to get ones outside of your MLS that you're associated with? I guess you just have to get.
You have to, because what happens is any MLS you are associated with gets registered with Coldwell Banker and is added to our system. And then that's how all the additional feeds, because we, as a company, are the ones that part of your ASP includes your IDX feed. And that's where all of the information feeds into your CB desk for tools like this. So if you're not registered with that MLS, you can't get that data.
On that note, just real quickly as well. So if you have, let's say you're a member of 2 different MLSs, is that a seamless experience in terms of that information being integrated when it comes to products such as this? Like, will it just all be in there, or do you have to like do it separately or log in separately or stuff like that? You follow me?
The latter. What happens is when you get to the landing page, it will ask you to choose which MLS you want that data for, and then you can aggregate one of the data sets. And if you wanted, from both, you would then have to just basically export both of those PDFs and then use them for whatever you wanted to.
I don't mean to hold the group up, but also, do you have any sense for when San Francisco is going to tie up with San Mateo County? Wasn't there supposed to be some sort of talk about them being able to
I
share?
remember hearing that early in the first quarter. I don't know how the coronavirus has kind of interrupted whatever processed updates that they were planning on. That would be a better question for your manager.
Okay, thanks.
I have a quick question. Can
Yes.
you email this market action report in the current format directly to your sphere?
I'll get to that.
Okay, perfect.
So moving on.
Is there a way to get April data too? Or is there always a 1 month lag?
There's always a 1 month lag, about a month and a bit, because you have to give time for these systems to aggregate the data. Most of this information, as I said, comes from the MLS. So it's really on the clock for whenever they push out that data into our systems. Moving ahead, property sales. This is where you first start to see the built-in infographics that are in this system. Quick basics just to run over what you want to do as an agent when you're reviewing these things. Always check the X and Y axes. Your X axis is your horizontal one running along the bottom. More often than not, this is going to be a signifier of time. And your Y axis running vertically up and down is going to be whatever quantity you're measuring on. Sometimes you'll see two. I'll get to those in a minute. In this particular graph, what we are looking at is units on the quantity side, time running along the bottom. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, and we hit 18, January 19, January 20. This 3-month average is that trend line, which is why it starts here in June and is essentially where the average data lies for any aggregated 3-month point for property sale data. And then what you're looking at here is if we were to look at, January of 19, you can see that there was 188 properties sold in that month. And what the trend information gives you here is March property sales were 219, down 5.2% from 231 in March of 2019. That's 33.5% higher than the 164 sales last month. March 2020 sales were at their lowest level compared to 2019 and 2018, and year-to-date sales are running about 8% behind last year's year-to-date sales. So it gives you that handy little digest, and you can then, I think I get a lot of questions too about what you can utilize this for beyond just sending this out to your client. I think these are great opportunities to talk about stuff that you can build into your own mailers or social media campaigns or discussions that you have on various platforms, and you can crop some of this stuff out, utilize this language, and then provide it as, again, like I said at the beginning, provide this to your clients and make sure that you, as the agent, are that knowledge base and wealth of information to them for this, and not just the person that hands them the paper that they then have to digest it for themselves. So look through this ahead of time, figure out what's going to be important for them, because 9 out of 10 clients aren't going to read this, and fewer will. There's obviously a handful of people that are great with statistics and good like that will understand what this means in the long term. But all of you guys have worked in this industry for a given number of time and have seen industry changes and trends and have a better understanding of what this data will mean for them. So make sure you take the time to highlight that ahead of time for them and pull out whatever the given situation is, what they're, what's going to be in their best interest, and then allow them to filter through the rest and come at you with additional questions. Here is the first graph in the system that has 2 y-axes, and what we're looking at here is the inventory and MSI. MSI stands for months of supply inventory, and what this trend line in blue is the number of months needed to sell all of the inventory at the monthly sales price, which is essentially going to be an averaged price in that month of units. And what you're looking at here on the left is units, on the right is months, and on the bottom is the time we're measuring across. And what you can see is, like, for example, in January of 20, it would take about, 3.5 months to sell all of the inventory in that given month. And again, what you can see in the handy little readout, total inventory of properties available for sale as of March was 611, up 2.2% from the 598 last month and down 15.6% from the 724 in March of last year. Comparatively, lower MSI is more beneficial for sellers, while a higher MSI is better for buyers. March 2020 MSI of 2.8 months was at a mid-range compared to March of 2019 and 2018. And you've got an average days on market readout. Your blue line is that dark blue line is that average, and the light blue line is a 3-month average of that average days on market. So it's an even further aggregation of how much time in a given quarter it is taking for properties to close on market. And that's, the gist of, you guys can go through and digest this data and utilize it for whatever means you might find in your conversation for a client. But this is where you would generate those. And now exporting to a PDF will give you a version that you can print, or, if you have Adobe, you can cut, alter a little bit, do whatever you would like with, or you can snap parts out of, like I said, to create your own snippets for social media posts, things like that, just to give you an idea of what these look like and to show you some of the additional things that were coming in it. When you look at the bottom, here is that full data field.
And what did you click to get to this output right here?
Export to PDF.
Export to PDF. And real quickly, you mentioned if you have Adobe, is there a particular tool that you found useful and efficient or cost effective in terms of pulling, like doing snips and creating PDFs?
In regards, there's a tool called Snapshot that's a really good screen cap tool if you just wanted to let's say grab this graph and take a screen cap of it and then utilize it in an image. There's things like that, but outside of just taking screen caps of parts of these PDFs to utilize as images, there's really nothing that will allow you to manipulate it in any way. Let's say if you wanted to add more text to this other than Adobe. The Adobe Reader software, I should say.
So Adobe Reader software lets you do that, or do you need
it's I think you can get that one alone for $20 a month or something like that. They're all streamed nowadays.
Adobe Reader is the one.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And then what I did when you saw with that graph we were looking at is this include data table, or not graph, I should say, that data table we were looking at is what's that checked box, and then the separate inventory sections are right here, where it adds this graph of inventory, new listings, and sales in the 3 shades of blue, so you can see how that breaks out over the time period I'm including in this action report. Now to email these, so that's everything you can do with that specific one. Let's go back to search. I'm going to keep all the same criteria, and the only difference is we're going to click on this HTML market action report. This will give you the same thing, but broken out easier for an email with all of the, again, handy readouts provided right on the left-hand side. You can also, again, switch from values. You can include the data table in the HTML report if you'd like. And again, it offers to customize the report. All that's really going to let you do is add a message ahead of time and give you a chance to, communicate whatever you wanted to ahead of the report being sent. But what happens is you would email this report. It gets sent to you in the system, whatever email is tagged here, which is usually whatever email you are. The default email is whatever email you have in our system. So whatever is on our distribution list when the office is blasting stuff to you and etc. If you need that changed, that is done right there. But if it's sending to the wrong address, reach out to your SSA or your field marketing specialist. And let's go to my email, and you can see now this is that report I just sent. And you can take this and then blast it to whomever you would like to send it to from your email. You would then forward it on because it comes from this CA moves, and you would then send it from your email out from there. Or you can, again, download that PDF, upload it, and send it as an attachment. If you wanted to send it as an HTML version, that's how you do it from here.
Okay, but my question, I probably was not very clear. Is there a way for me to send this report? Let's say I have 400 contacts in the system. Can I automatically send this through to all of them without sending it to my email and then typing
Not
an
yet.
offer?
That's an update happening in the scheduled updates. I'm not 100% sure what operational changes we're having this year due to staffing changes, but those were some of the planned updates for the VNew platform. So it's something that's coming. This will all link with your InTouch account, so you can then just pull like groups out and send it to them that way. Right now, you would just send it to yourself and then email it from your system to whatever groups you have in your contact sphere. So there is that one extra step at the moment, but it is something that is being addressed in the new system that is being launched this year.
Can you send it PDF InTouch?
Sorry, there were two people going there. Let's hold. It's already 11, and I want to try and get you guys out of here in about 15 minutes or less. So let's hold questions until the end. I'm going to move ahead here because I just want to quickly go back to the search and show you guys what that market trend page looks like. This is where, and again, there's going to be newer versions of these coming up. This gives you the option to, again, choose what that number one bar will be. You've got default sold average price. I could look at sold median price versus the default was list average price. I could switch it to list median price. You could look at, any one of these categories, expired or canceled, accepted offers, and weigh it against another second category. You can add a trend line. You can also show all of the data being pulled in this series underneath. And again, you can export this as a PDF and utilize that however you would like. Again, and it also gives you a beautiful header too that lets the consumer know exactly what this is a graph of. Going back to the search, the last one obviously is market share. I'm leaving the default by broker, and it lets you know how much market share you have in the current region. And then you can look at list side, buy side, total, show as a percentage, units versus volume in dollar. Again, you can export or return to search. That is everything in the MarketQuest system. And if you have a different MLS in the system, this is how you would access that different MLS. And then, like I said, you would choose whichever one you are using, and you can pull data from that set. If you were going to show multiple MLSs in a report, I would, export those as a PDF. You can upload them into Moxie, or you can print them and use them in whatever means that you're currently going to present that data to your client. That is where you would access the multiple MLS side. The last bit of data we're going to go over is in Prospect Square. Prospect Square offers 3 different types of reports in them. And just to cover them real quick, because again, reading the data is very much the same way. You guys need to identify what each accessees are covering. And then more importantly, with these reports, there's a lot of analytics that come back from the report themselves. Meaning, my great go-to example is I always start with the quarterly reports. Again, that's your 30,000 foot snapshot that is provided to get started with. If I sent that out to client X that was interested in a specific area and I knew they were looking at Monterey County, I could go into, so the quarterly reports, like I said, are that big snapshot. They funnel into the quarterly reports are all of the separate area reports for the county you are looking at. Now, when you start here, and I'll show you, both the quarterly reports and area reports are built the same way. They're already generated by the company, and the links are dynamic. So when you send something to a client, every time they open it, they will get the most updated version available. You can add individual market areas. You can give the report a name, send it to clients in your system, or you can go grab one of the ones that's already made. All of your information will pop up on it with this link. It's already built to you. The information is whatever comes out of your profile in this system. And if you ever want to preview them, you just click on that little page right there and it's going to pull it up. You can see here, this is Q1 2020. You've got all, again, great infographics built to be consumer friendly that you should pre-load that ahead of time in your discussion and remind them, these are the quick things that we want to focus on. But here is the deeper discussion to be had about the county as a whole. Top is single family homes. Bottom is condos and townhomes. You can see number of sales, Q1 2019 versus 2020. Listings, average days on market, all broken down. You've got a great snapshot that again breaks down every area, single family homes versus condos and townhomes. And like I said, this is that big overview. So you're looking at all of these numbers for all of that data for the county. And deeper in this report are the additional area reports. So let's say client X got this big report from me and they opened the quarterly or monthly reports for Pacific Grove, Monterey, Carmel Valley, and Salinas Monterey Highway. In my analytics, if I went back and checked, I would not only see when they got the report, when they opened the report, but then you would be able to see what areas in specific they were looking at. So you can be a proactive agent and follow up and say, hey, I noticed that these were the areas you are zeroing in on in the quarterly report. Here are the area reports specific for these individual areas. Here's some information that's important for you to know about these areas. And if you have any specific questions, always reach out to me. I've got all, blah, 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 whatever your guys' pitch is as that agent. This is, again, your opportunity to be that extra knowledge base and wealth and resource of information for them that Discount Joe and Joanne can't, and be proactive and not wait for them to ask you about specific areas, because again, you get all this information coming back to you in the analytics side. And all of these graphs have these handy dandy question marks, which will give you a reminder of what the information on the graph is and how to read it and articulate it to your client. If they're reading this, they will also get these in the digital copy that they can open up to digest themselves. Again, I'm not a big fan of giving away the farm, but utilize these to your advantage to be that resource of information to your clients, and then get that information back here in the analytics section to provide them more detailed information on what they're looking for. The area reports work the exact same way. You can hit new to send them to a specific group of people, to a specific individual, to copy specific people on any given reports, and to include specific areas. Or you can grab any of the ready-made ones. They are all in multiple breakdowns. So as you can see, you've got everything that is available. I'm going to search Monterey County specifically. And if I go, to, let's say, as you can see here, you've got New Monterey. This is going to include everything in that region, or I can look at just new Monterey condos and townhome data, or just single family homes. They're all broken down specifically, plus you've got the county. I'm going to go ahead and just pull one of these open so we can take a look. And you've got all of the same data broken down for, again, that specific area. Or you can break it down if you know they're just looking for a condo, if they're just looking for a townhome. This is, again, where you get all of that data from and can provide it to your client. The market reports are different in that these are specifically generated to filter in properties of a specific type. So it's much more, I've said specific a ton of times, but it's much more targeted, right? You can add in criteria, radius, you can add in how many days back we're going, how many days pending we're going to show, what price, school districts, property info, all of the good info that we want to grab is all done there. Or you can draw a map and do a map search and include properties within a specific filter of that map. So you could have, just properties in this area that are 2-story or 1-story or whatever it may be. Email frequency you can include here. I always recommend maximum number of emails, listings per email. Knock this down to 50. A, because 50 is a lot already. B, 90, well, not 90, let's say 70%, conservatively speaking, of your consumers will open this on some kind of mobile device. Those first 50 properties will load in super easy. That next 50 will take a lot of bandwidth. Make it easy for them. Lower that down to 50. Buyer, seller, prospect, investor, there is a handy dandy little pre-written language. You can edit that language in report settings, or you can have nothing there by selecting nothing. And you can give the report an expiration. This way, it doesn't work forever. And if they're really interested, they'll reach back out to you. Again, it creates a sense of call to action and a sense of urgency to the system, and it prevents them from walking away with this hyper-specific aggregated data and utilizing it somewhere else. You can preview them. You can, if you like what you see, you can send it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And that's what I wanted to cover. Let's go ahead and get to those questions, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and let's open up the floor for questions. I'm going to see if there's any in the chat. What are the steps to embed the report as HTML doc? Right now, that is so it's kind of simple. You would take that emailed version that you get and then copy the HTML code of that email that you sent to yourself and then paste that into like InTouch, if that's what we're talking about doing, to blast out from there. If you want more specific instructions on that, Paul, you can email me and I can kind of put together something for you. I don't know if I can articulate it very well. And is that the reason your hand was raised, Paul?
Yeah, I guess I accidentally hit the hand raise. I was also thinking just in the context of using that for a blog and social, so that you'd have a link as opposed to a document directly.
Correct. It would be the same kind of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll make a note and I can put something together for you and I'll send that out.
Awesome. You're the man. Appreciate it.
You are welcome. How do you add a trend line? So the trend line for the market action reports, there's a little box on top that you can check to add in that for any of the reports that it's eligible for.
I've got a question. On the area report in Prospect Square,
yes,
I don't see any links available.
When you go to area report, do you see a preview and share next to the browse? Because that's where all those links are. Let me share my screen again.
I almost need to click new.
So for market reports, yes. Let me here, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's go back to. So see, this is what you're looking for, this preview and share. For quarterly and area reports, these are the ones that are already generated by the company that are auto updating.
Okay.
The market reports are the ones that you create for a specific client or group.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? I'm going to give it a few seconds here. Feel free to unmute yourselves or type them into the chat.
Just follow up on the area report.
Yes.
Can I find by county or how
The
does
counties
that?
start with the quarterly reports.
Oh yeah,
But what
they
you
do
do
have
is if you
county.
go to, if you wanted to search to distill, if you hit find, sorry, not find, if you hit, I need to refresh mine. Yeah, if you hit find, it should allow you to filter by a specific county
Oh, okay, got it.
when you're in the preview and share side, not on the browse.
Okay.
I'd love to see, I don't know if it's possible, but like maybe a workshop type of format where we could like drill down and step by step create some reports that we think would be compelling and why for, you know, specific purposes to get people excited and engaged.
I think some of my colleagues are doing classes like that. If they are not, we review all of our calendars weekly. So if I don't see anything like that, I'll be sure to add a class, Paul.
Yeah, I think in general, there's been a lot of great information, and maybe it's just because I'm a newbie to the industry, but it seems like we go over a lot of stuff pretty quickly, but don't really drill down to the actual output. You know, here's exactly what report we created and why, and here's why it's valuable, and just taking that sort of extra next step to come up with a deliverable. Just a general point that I think might be valuable.
Yeah, I'll take a look into that and try and craft something. I can totally do that.
Awesome, thanks.
I'm just making a note of that right now. Perfect. Any other questions that I can help with? Awesome. So I will go ahead and put together